Hi everyone, it's Toyin back again with the, oops. Sorry about that. Today I'm going to talk about A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Now this is a fantasy, a dark fairy tale, fantasy romance book in the young adult genre. And it's basically like a modern day, not a modern day, it's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. As per usual, I'm going to read you the plot and then I'm going to tell you 3 things I liked about the book, 3 things I didn't like about the book, if anything, and my top 3 favorite characters. So here we go. Farah's survival rests upon her ability to hunt and kill. The forest where she lives is a cold, bleak place in the long winter months. So when she spots a deer in the forest being pursued by a wolf, she cannot resist fighting it for the flesh. But to do so, she must kill the predator, and killing something so precious comes at a price. Dragged to a magical kingdom for the murder of a fairy, Farah discovers that her captor, his face obscured by a jeweled mask, is hiding far more than his piercing green eyes would suggest. Farah's presence at the court is closely guarded as she begins to learn why her feelings for him turn from hostility to passion, and the fairylands become an even more dangerous place. Farah must fight to break an ancient curse, or she will lose him forever. Now, this book is part of a trilogy, and I think the second book in the series is a Court of Mist and Fury. And the third book in the series is A Court of Wings and Ruin. Now, I've read all 3 books in the series, and I'm going to kind of, do you know what, give this like a trilogy review. I think it's only 3 books in the series. I think it's only 3 books in the series because I've only read 3. A Court of Thorns and Roses was my favourite of the 3 books. And I really, really liked the female protagonist, Farah. In the beginning, I didn't like her because I thought she was a bit kind of weak and, you know, wasn't fighting her captivity. And I just don't understand how some weird guy can come and capture you from the forest and everything about him is off and odd, and he takes you to like this big mansion and you're not fighting against it. I mean, that's probably just me because my kind of psyche, my kind of character, I'll be clawing tooth and nail. I'm just not gonna go willingly and gracefully into the night with this beast kind of character. I'm gonna make you work for it. So I just didn't like that initially. Sorry, I feel like I'm jumping all over the place. Let me first of all start with what I liked about the book. I liked the story. I liked that it was a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I liked the darkness of it, and it really described the world of fairy in an in-depth way. So basically, Farah is a huntress and she's hunting to get food for her family, and then she comes across this deer and then she shoots the deer and kills the deer, and not realizing that the deer was actually some kind of changeling fairy. Well, basically it was a fairy that had changed into a form of a deer. And when she kills this deer, then this beast comes and drags her away into the land of fairy. And then you discover that the beast is also a changeling, and his name is Tamlin, and he's the High Lord of the court where he's dragged her to, which is this massive mansion, basically. And like as is typical in Beauty and the Beast, Fairy must promise to stay with him forever. Otherwise, you know, he'll have to go and hunt down her family and whatever have you to protect her family. But then, like, you know, Farah is very beautiful, and there is just something about her that is intriguing to Tamlin, and he just can't help but be drawn to her. In terms of Farah and her family dynamic, yeah, so she has 2 sisters and her father basically was like a merchant, and he was a really successful merchant, but I don't know, he had some kind of gambling addiction or owed a debt of money or something like that, and basically had to sell all his property. And you know, he became very lazy because he's not used to being without money, so he just didn't know how to take care of his girls. But Farah was very resourceful, and her 2 sisters have very different personalities. So one of them is very beautiful and relies on her looks, and the other one is just very gentle natured. So she just feels obligated to protect them because they're very helpless and can't fend for themselves, so to speak. So she ends up staying with Tamlin. There's this big festival or something that happens once a year, and all the courts have to come together. The courts are normally at odds with each other, so but on this one special occasion they come together and they celebrate, basically, like the solstice. So they celebrate together and everything, and Farah is meant to make up her mind if she wants to be with Tamlin romantically or not at this festival. But then something happens. She meets this very dark guy called Rissand. She doesn't know how to take him. He is apparently like the Lord of the Night Court, and she's trying to avoid him. She's been told to avoid him, but as all things in fairy tales are, so push comes to shove and she kind of ends up being with him. So I really enjoyed this particular book, not so much the subsequent books in the series. The subsequent books in the series are kind of told from the other lords' kind of perspective. So as the books go on, you get to learn about Farah's sisters and who they end up falling in love with. Now in the other books, I kind of enjoyed the description of the Night Court and what the Night Court turned out to be, and it wasn't what you thought, and Rissand was kind of putting up this facade so that he was perceived in one way, but was completely different in reality. And Farah was the only one that kind of knows about that, but she comes to that discovery in a very, very twisted way because she has to make a bargain with Rissand to spend some of her time at the Night Court and to basically do things for him, and you're not sure whether he's a good guy or bad guy in the beginning. So as retellings would go, I thought this one was really, really good. A Court of Thorns and Roses. It was really, really good because it stuck to true form of being a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I kind of felt like the other books kind of got lost along the way, and I don't know why that was. Well, I felt like I could have just been given A Court of Thorns and Roses and that would have been fine as a standalone, but I feel like somebody in the publishing house discovered that they've locked onto a money-making machine and spun it out over 2 and 3 books, and I'm really, really sorry that is the review I'm giving. I think it's probably not the most popular opinion about these books because they are so popular. So as a standalone book, I would give A Court of Thorns and Roses, I'd give it a 3.2 because I don't think it was as good as like other retellings that I've read. Please check out my review for Cinder and the Lunar Chronicles. I've done Cinder, Scarlet Crest and Winter. So please let me know your thoughts. You might have a different opinion. Let me know if your opinion is different. Please leave a comment down below. Please like, share and subscribe, and until next time, bye.